So today it's actually a very interesting event because every time we have any major economic event in the digital world, like for example, Bitcoin halving, the one thing that everyone starts asking about is, what is Bitcoin? Should I be investing in Bitcoin? What will the price of Bitcoin go up to, or will it fall again? Today, however, what we shall do is try to understand the fundamentals of Bitcoin, not so that I can answer these questions for you, but so that you can decipher it for yourself. So, hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Fintech Chronicler. I am your host, Kamalika, and every week I do these deep dives into the exciting world of fintech, and we discuss and hash out the entire concept that we're getting into, right from the fundamentals into a very high level place, so that you can kind of arm yourself with these insights and make better decisions in the financial world. So the way that I've structured today's program is that we'll kickstart the session with a brief history, not too much, of Bitcoin, understand some of the terminologies that are there around it, like blockchain or a hash rate, and the roles that miners play, and the thesis behind. So and then we'll go behind to the thesis of Bitcoin. We'll also try to look at some of the economic models of pricing Bitcoin that's there. And we'll also get into the entire Bitcoin halving, because that's going to be happening about a week from today. Roughly around the 18th, 19th is when the Bitcoin halving is going to take place. And yes, that's about it. So let's get started. Also, one thing that I did want to mention is that if at any point in time, if you guys are joining in through the LinkedIn live, if you have any doubts whatsoever, or even if you have like a different opinion to what I am saying, please feel free to, just raise your hand, come up on stage, because I think those discussions that we have, it really makes me think a lot more, and as a result of that also deliver a lot better insights to the rest of the audience who listens into the recordings. So that's what I wanted to talk about. So let's get right into the entire saga about what is Bitcoin, right? So let's start at the beginning. Let's talk about Bitcoin. How did Bitcoin come across? How did it get developed? And what was some of the origin and the purpose behind it? So there was this mysterious person called Satoshi Nakamoto. There are still a lot of hypotheses about who or what his real identity is, but no one really knows for sure. So in 2008, he had developed this decentralized digital currency, which was free from any sort of control by third party elements like governments or even banks. The reason behind this was that, so if you see any traditional currency as of today, whether it is cash or even your card transactions, there is some central agency that's used to verify these transactions and prevent fraud. Now, Bitcoin, being fully digital and decentralized, uses cryptography and what is now known as a peer to peer network in order to achieve the same thing. So, a lot of synonyms that you will see with Bitcoin is that it is a system for transacting for trustless economies. So, if Mary and I had to transact, while I love Mary, and I know her really well, but if we had to transact with each other and we didn't really know each other, we didn't know if we could trust the other person, we could simply use Bitcoin, because then there would be a verifiable trail that, Kamalika has transferred money to Bitcoin and all of those good stuffs that happens otherwise with all of these transaction processing. So the way that it works is that all of these transactions are recorded on the blockchain. Now, this is yet another term that we'll have to decode. So, what is a blockchain? Blockchain is nothing but a very simple, it's a public ledger, and it's like a giant database which is not stored in one central place, but it's distributed across the platform in the network of computers that are a part of the Bitcoin network. So that is about, one line if I had to say about blockchain. Now, how is it that these transactions that are happening peer to peer between Mary and myself, how is it that these transactions are being recorded and verified? So this is where the role of the next, jargon alert, miners comes in. So miners, literally like what we have gold miners, right? So miners are nothing but computer nodes. These are super powerful computer nodes that are there. They're sitting and solving a lot of bunch of these complex mathematical problems, which is used to verify transactions that are being done by peers. And once verified, it gets committed by being written into a block. And that block, once it gets filled with a bunch of transactional details, gets added to the blockchain. And now once it gets added to a blockchain, this happens basis whichever miner is able to solve this complex mathematical puzzle, and this puzzle is what encrypts that entire transactional data, that transactional transfer that's happened between Mary and myself. That When that gets verified, the miner who verifies it the fastest earns some Bitcoin in the process. So this is how miners and the process or the rewards of mining works. And essentially, all of these miners are basically a part of the entire blockchain network for Bitcoin, right? So this means that all of them are competing to verify transactions and add it to a block, essentially meaning that there isn't one particular central authority who's verifying and accepting or rejecting these transactions. So that's what helps in making the entire trustless or the peer-to-peer transaction system that Bitcoin is about. Now, one of the biggest questions that a lot of people keep asking is that what is the financial problem or the statement, core problem statement that Bitcoin is solving for? Now, this is where yet another jargon alert. Bitcoin aims to address the problem of double spending, which is the risk of the same currency being used for more than one purpose, being used twice. Now, while in the physical world, it is very hard to envision the double spending problem, in the digital world, it is quite possible that the same currency gets used twice. And by the way, if you're wondering who does this, um, banks are the biggest example of that, by the way. Anyway, so the blockchain ledger ensures that there is a transparency for every Bitcoin currency that's there and prevents users from spending the same Bitcoin in multiple places or multiple times. Also, when compared to a lot of other alternatives that are there in the traditional banking system in the West, not in India, where our transactional systems are slightly more advanced. But when it comes to a lot of these transactional processing systems internationally that are available, when you compare the processing speed of blockchain of Bitcoin versus a lot of them, it just happens to be a lot faster. Specifically, if we come to international transaction processing, that's there. With the Swift system, it takes up to 3 days also at times. But with Bitcoin, there is one new block being added to the blockchain every 10 minutes. So, and each block, like we just discussed, has like a bunch of transactions. So that's how fast it kind of works. So, while the vision that Satoshi Nakamoto had was to actually create a medium of exchange for the digital world. Today, however, because of its inflation beating properties, Bitcoin is primarily seen as a store of value, and so it's garnered the nickname of being the digital gold over there. And of course, because of that, the price of Bitcoin too has been significantly volatile over the years. In fact, just 2022, it fell from an all time high of $68,000. And over the last 1 month, it rose to hit almost $73,000, and now it's again around that 70, 69 sort of a level currently. So it's been a crazy volatile ride. And from last in 2022, like last year, the lowest that Bitcoin reached was about $17,000, which were levels which were previously seen at 2017. So yeah, anyways, we won't get into the price action. Like we'll probably get into it a little later, but I just want to quickly take a pause because I know I've been rambling quite a lot and at speed as well, just to see if anyone had any questions or if anyone wanted to add their inputs as well. Please do feel free to kind of hit the hand raise button, and I would love to host you all on stage as well. Okay, let's move on then. So the next thing that I did want to cover was again, uh, wait, I'm just opening up my notes. So we've covered what Bitcoin, the core thesis around Bitcoin that's there. Now, does anyone want me to kind of get into double spending? I know that we have my very good friend Abhishek in the audience, and he's probably the best placed person to explain what double spending problem is. But for everyone else, is there a need for me to kind of, if you do give me a thumbs up? Okay, Deepthi is saying yes, so we shall do it. And this is one exercise that I love doing a lot, which is kind of explaining a concept using the five levels of difficulties. I'm not going to bore you with all five levels of a toddler and a teenager and all of those other levels. I think let's just focus, because most of us are kind of familiar with what Bitcoin is. Let's just focus on the teenage level. So typically, a lot of teenagers nowadays play a lot of online games. And in the course of these games, they also buy a lot of, they either level up or they buy a lot of these add on gadgets with digital coins. Now, these digital coins typically are a lot similar to the files that we store on our computers. So, which means that if someone does get access to your computer, they can easily copy and paste the same coin somewhere else, double spending. And that is a bad thing for the entire online gaming economy. So, this is exactly what the double spending problem looks like. There is a risk of someone else using the same digital currency to pay for two things at the same time. While with physical cash, because you have only one bill, you can't really, I can't give one bill to Deepthi and another bill of the same denominator, of the same, everything being the same to Mary, unless I probably clone it. But anyways, that's not possible with physical. But like we said, with digital, because you can instantly make a copy, it could possibly be used in two more than one places. So this is where blockchain technology comes in order to solve for it. So every time one transaction or an amount of a transaction is committed, the ledger for both, like in the previous example where we were talking about Mary and me transacting, so the ledger at my end gets debited at the same instant that the ledger for Mary gets credited with that amount. So that way, it's not possible that I can, and once it's committed, these transactions are immutable, making it impossible for anyone else to kind of go back, erase, and do any of those sort of shenanigans over there. So that's kind of what the double spending problem is. Just taking a quick pause here to see, Deepthi, did that make sense to you? Awesome. All right, then let's move on. Now, we've seen that for verifying all of these transactions and for committing those blocks of transactions into the blockchain, miners do a lot of heavy lifting, right? They're using all of these very computationally intensive CPUs in order to commit and work for all of these transactions. So why do they do that? Now, this is exactly where the concept of Bitcoin mining rewards comes into play, which is again the fourth jargon of the day in this session. My gosh, it's already been like just 15 minutes and I've already given like five different kinds of jargon. But okay. So what exactly the process of mining is that, okay, we've already discussed the process of mining, but every time one block is written into the blockchain, miners, for that, the miner who was able to submit the block by solving that very complex computational puzzle that's there, the miner who submitted it first correctly gets a few bitcoins. Now, from the start of the ecosystem till date, uh, the Bitcoin rewards that you get for committing a transaction into the blockchain keeps halving very periodically. So, when Bitcoin was first launched in 2008, every miner who was committing a block was getting 50 reward Bitcoins as rewards. Then 4 years later, there was another halving of these rewards where for every block that's committed, they get only 25. and so on. So every almost every 4 years, and we'll come to the maths behind this as well in just a bit. But basically, every 4 years, the rewards that are given to miners for all the hard work in making sure that this ecosystem stays secure and stays peer to peer and decentralized, that keeps going down by half. So it's like, back to our school days, our ninth and 10th standard classes, where we had these uh, logarithmic sort of the progressions over there. So if you do the math and add up 50 plus 25 plus 12.5 plus 6.25, 6.25 is what it is going to be now, and so on and so forth. All of this adds up to 100. Now, okay, I think I will come to just remember this number 100, because we will come to another quick part of it, which is the number of bitcoins that can ever be mined very soon. But yes, so if you do this logarithmic progression for every blocks, like till the end of time or till the last bitcoin is ever mined, we can, like, there will be like 100 sort of bitcoins that you can kind of gather over there. So that brings us to the next question, which is, why is it that Bitcoin rewards keep get going down by half? Now, one of the reasons is that the complexity, as more and more people start coming into the Bitcoin ecosystem, it's quite possible that people are trying to game the system. So, to make those transactions that much more robust, or to secure it in a much better fashion, the complexity of it keeps going up. And to prevent miners who have been there a part of the system for a very long time from taking advantage of it also, they keep disincentivizing them by reducing the block rewards by half every so often. um, and so remember, I mentioned that one block gets added to the Bitcoin every 10 minutes. Now, this is where we're going to come into the maths behind why is it that there are only 21 million Bitcoins that can ever be created. So, bit one, okay, before that, let's actually drill back a little more and try understanding how is Bitcoin, like, what is the smallest value of a Bitcoin that's there? So, the smallest value of Bitcoin that's out there is actually known as a SAT, named after Satoshi Nakamoto, and that is about 100 millionth of a Bitcoin. So, basically, 100 million Bitcoins makes one. Sorry, 100 million SATs makes one Bitcoin. So now, what a few mathematicians had done was that logarithmic curve that's there, it's like an asymptotic curve. So technically, it goes to very near to zero, but it does not really go to zero. But they figured out that it becomes indivisible in terms of sats by the time it reaches 21 20 no 2.1 million blocks. So that's the time when you can no longer generate any more sats, so it kind of becomes like zero. And the time that it will take for this is roughly about till about 2040. Now, if we go back and figure out how many 10 minutes are there in the time from 2008 till 2040, it turns out that there are 21 million times that this can sorry 0.21 million times that this can be done. Now, when we, and remember that we were saying that, over time 100 is like over each period of halving that miners can make. So when you do this 0.21 million into 100, the number you arrive to is a 21 million. So it's like a very mathematical, I wish I could have shown a diagrammatic representation of it in my LinkedIn live. Maybe in the recording I will do that. I'll work out an Excel sheet and show this on the diagram over there. But yes, so that's like the mathematics behind why there can only be 21 million Bitcoins at any point in time that can ever be created. So that's the maths. I'm pretty sure maths was not the only reason that Satoshi Nakamoto or at least it's my hypothesis, that maths could not have been the only reason why Satoshi Nakamoto designed the system to have only 21 million bitcoins at any time. I think another reason is back to, the original thesis of what Bitcoin is all about, which was that he wanted it to be a medium of transaction for the digital world. Now, if you go back and see when Bitcoin was launched back in 2008, the currency in circulation, the US dollars in circulation at that point in time was close to about 21,000 trillions. Yes, I got the number of zeros right. Now, if you multiply the number of sats with the number of bitcoins that can ever be mined, it comes up to 21 21 million trillion dollars as well. So basically he was trying to literally replicate the currency, the USDs in circulation across the globe with that of Bitcoin. So I think that's kind of where the number comes from. All right, now that I've explained what Bitcoin halving is, we've also covered, why there can only be 21 million Bitcoins. Did the maths behind 21 million Bitcoins make sense to all of you? I would love to see if you can, or was it just too much of theory for you guys to actually follow along, and this used to happen a lot in class. Okay. Abhishek and Adhosha also are saying that they did get it. So thank you so much. All right. So now we shall move on to what happens when all of the block rewards, are mined and there is no more Bitcoin that you can mine and give to miners. Now, this is interesting because what a lot of people claim is that the transaction fees will, because by then Bitcoin would have probably gotten adopted so much, the transaction fees that each block getting added to the blockchain generates will be more than sufficient in order for people to continue being a part of the ecosystem over there. Plus, the amount of Bitcoin that all of these big miners would have earned would have been sufficient and more for them for another generation to keep going to for sorry another century for them to keep going on with supplementing the entire, like, kind of a feedback positive feedback loop and making sure that they're able to keep the lights on for all of that. That's a slightly scary proposition to me, that Bitcoin's value will become so high that it's going to help keep the lights on for another century at least. But one of the things that I do think makes this time's, the things that are happening globally this time, it makes it a lot, it validates the feeling that Bitcoin may not become absolutely obsolete, is the emergence of Bitcoin ETFs in not just the US, but apparently even China is coming up with a Bitcoin ETF. And that was very, very, when I was doing my research for this, it was kind of an eye opener for me because China is a country that we all know is very, they're an autocratic company and they want to always maintain control. So the fact that they are also looking at Bitcoin and thinking of it as a store of value for the future, I think that was a very big validation that maybe this thing is not going to go down in demand, at least to a zero. That said, a lot of people keep saying that the Bitcoin price after every halving goes up by almost a 180%. However, one of the reasons why I personally don't feel that may or may not happen is because almost before every Bitcoin halving so far, there has been a big bear run on Bitcoin. So they've been most of the times they've been trading at their support value. If you see the technical charts, the months before the halving and also after halving for a few months, about a month and a half, it still takes time to adopt for people to adopt to the fact that the supply for Bitcoin has become half now, and that after that is when it kind of translates into supply is reduced, demand, even if it stays more or less same, then the price kind of picks up over there. So that was one of the things why I think this time it's slightly different, given the fact that all of these ETFs kind of hyped up the price and we had a crazy bull run with 300% increase in Bitcoin prices. Also, a lot of these ETFs, because they're being managed by money managers who are, by the way, excellent at reading any of these charts, it just means that the price, this entire price movement that's happened in the past three Bitcoin cycles, that's kind of been priced in over there. I remember seeing Dhaval raise his hand. Unfortunately, Dhaval, I don't know why I could not bring you up on stage. But yes, Dhaval would love to, hear your points on this as well. So do feel free to raise your hand, and I'd love to bring you up on stage as well. Awesome. So we have Dhaval on stage with us. Hi, Dhaval. How are you doing? Yes, Dhaval, go for it.
Uh, Hi. Uh, so my question is, just there are lots of regulation in India.
Hmm.
Uh, do you see any startup is coming from financial background uh, in Bitcoin space?
So yes, there are regulations, and I think it's a good thing that there are regulations, because one of the roles that I see our regulators playing is to prevent blind greed from taking over the system and ensuring that people are not doing something that's detrimental to their own financial well-being. So that means that speculations from India at least is not going to be as much as it is in a lot of other places. Coming to the point that you mentioned, are there startups which are working in the Bitcoin space in India? So when it comes, are you talking about startups as in mining based startups, or are you talking about financial institutions that are probably creating a wrapper around Bitcoin and then helping others to buy into this as an investment asset? Which one?
I I am what interested in a startup using blockchain technology basically.
Oh, if it's just plain vanilla blockchain, yes, Dhaval, a lot of startups in India are working on blockchain. So, in fact, interestingly, uh, so Polygon is India based. Polygon has their own currency as well, cryptocurrency as well on the blockchain. Um, but apart from that, there are a few pure play blockchain transactional blockchain platforms as well, who are also helping our regulators in developing the entire central bank digital currency ecosystem that's out there. They're laying the rails for them to for our RBI to release all of these on the blockchain. So definitely there are a bunch of Indian blockchain startups that are there. But to the question on financial products around blockchain or around Bitcoin, I think right now there are exchanges. There are a lot of crypto exchanges in India that are still operational, by the way, where and you must have gone through RBI's or rather the finance minister's latest regulations, right? Where she said that every time you pay a crypto wallet, also you will be charged 1%, and on your crypto gains you will have to pay a flat out 30% tax to the government once you like if you realize those gains basically. So
Yes.
given that, it is quite possible that even now we Indians can invest in Bitcoin. But what if you're someone who's not very confident of taking a direct exposure in crypto? Because I can understand, it's very volatile in asset class, and not everyone has that financial security to let 10% or whatever portion of their investments kind of just completely go to zero also, if it may just happen. So in that case, there are a lot of these Bitcoin ETFs and a lot of other crypto ETFs also that are coming up, that kind of do a very good, or I would say a better job of managing that, because they're run by professional fund managers. Now Grayscale also has so they're bringing the Bitcoin ETF to India as well, for Indian consumers as well. So that is again like another wrapper financial product that's there. I believe others too are looking to bring these ETFs to India, but I've not heard. I mean, on official channel, it's all just chatter on lots of WhatsApp channels. But official news, I think only Grayscale has released their ETFs so far.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that, Dhaval. Really enjoyed the question that you asked me, because yes, it made me go back and recollect a lot of things that I've clearly forgotten. All right, so
Thank you.
That kind of brings me towards the end of this entire session that I had in mind, which is the price action that we could possibly see on, or rather, how do we unpack the economic price of Bitcoin? So for this, there is this very interesting. So there are two ways that you can possibly do it. One is, of course, the simple demand supply, the graph of demand versus supply that's there. Now with the Bitcoin halving, of course, the supply is going to go into half, but assuming that the demand stays the same, then it will kind of go up at least another 100%. That's what economists are projecting, till the supply and the demand kind of reach midway over there. Now that is one way. Another way that I like seeing pricing of Bitcoin is from a bottom up, and this is like a very manufacturing sort of a mindset that I come from, I know. But what is the cost that it takes to produce one Bitcoin? Now, for that, basically, what we'll have to do is, after this halving, the complexity of solving all of these mathematical puzzles to encrypt these blocks, technically, it's going to become double. So, I would want to rather see the amount of energy that every one of these supercomputers takes in, how that translates into rupee value, sorry, dollar values in this case, and then price it in. So, and then probably also add like a slight markup of say 10-20% over there, considering that it is a rare asset out there. So some few economists have actually done this very nice exercise for us, and according to them, basis the energy that it's going to take to generate one Bitcoin, one block, and then you divide it by 6.25 Bitcoins, basically that comes up to being roughly around $48,000. So now, if you add a markup of even 20% over there, that brings the price to what we are seeing it currently at a $68,000-$70,000. So that kind of tells me that most economists and fund managers who are running these ETFs have definitely baked in the price of the halving into their the Bitcoin ETFs that they have. So that's one. Another interesting rule was what's known as the Metcalfe Law. Now, it was way too much of maths over there. But simply put, what he said is that the number of users on the Bitcoin network has been growing to the power of 3. And the price of Bitcoin depends on the number of users, and you basically square it. So on that basis, when you had done the maths around that, that brought the price of Bitcoin to a $98,000 after this particular halving. uh, to one I honestly like the energy consumption model a lot better, because it makes intuitively a lot more sense to me. The entire maths around Metcalfe law, it's something that I am kind of trying to replicate in an Excel sheet. So once I'm done with that, I would definitely be sharing it out with all of you. But that's about all that I had for my end. If anyone has any other questions, do feel free to kind of raise your hands and come up on stage and ask it away. Or if you think that there's a better pricing model for Bitcoin, I would love to definitely hear that as well. Yes, Dhaval, go for it.
Uh, is there any uh, use of electricity problem in Bitcoin in future? Because I
Oh,
think there are a lot of government are worrying about high use of electricity in
yeah.
Bitcoin.
Yeah, okay. So this is, you've hit the nail right on its coffin. And the coffin is ESG funds, which are completely against Bitcoin, simply because of the amount of energy that it takes to generate one Bitcoin. So I remember back in 2022, there was this study that was done, and they said that, a small town in Vienna can be lit up by the amount of energy that it takes to generate 12 Bitcoins. So that's how computationally intensive it is, Dhaval, over there. So basically, 1 year's Bitcoin, creation of that is equivalent to about 100 cities, small cities getting lit up over there. So it's very computationally intensive, energy intensive a process. But what a lot of people are claiming nowadays is that with quantum computing coming in, that energy requirement may go down. So your processing, your processing capacity obviously goes down, but quantum computing's and the computer costs that you're going to be incurring as a one-time cost also goes up, but you will not have to spend so much on energy as we are doing today. I don't remember the exact maths between how much of energy will be needed, but it was a significant reduction. This is again, it's a theoretical paper. Nobody's I or rather, let me rephrase. I have not seen anyone else who's yet to implement quantum computing. By the way, Dhaval, you've been asking us so many amazing, amazing questions. But just for the benefit of the audience, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Um, Hi, I am Dhaval Joshi, and I am building a financial well-being tools uh, for community, and you can find this on my profile, UrbanBit.io. I am building this tool for financial well-being. So I am doing for a couple of years, and it's available. So just that's it.
That's amazing. I always love meeting other fintech builders as well. So, really glad, Dhaval, that you could join me today.
Thank you.
All right. If there are no more questions, then I think I'm good to call it a day. I do hope that, all of the random ramblings that I was doing all through the last 40 minutes made sense to all of you and you were able to derive some value out of it. All right, one sec. We do have, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Uh, I don't know why. I'm not able to get you up on stage as well. But Kulkarni ji, are you able to join us? Kulkarni ji, I'm having some sort of a weird issue bringing you up on stage. How about you lower your hand and then raise it again and I'll pull you up again? Yeah. Let me try bringing Kulkarni ji up on stage. Oh shoot, I don't know what is happening. I think the effects of the solar eclipse is coming onto my LinkedIn Live as well because it's clearly not working for me right now. I'm so sorry, Kulkarni ji. But you know what I will do? I'm going to message you real quick so that I don't forget that we were supposed to have an amazing conversation today. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to the points that you wanted to bring up on stage. Really sorry that I could not bring you up on stage. I'm not sure what is happening with my LinkedIn Live today. But yes, I do hope that, we can kind of exchange notes and talk to each other about this amazing topic. But if there's nothing else that anyone else has to share, then I'm good to call it a night. And I will definitely, definitely look forward to hearing from all of you the next time. Oh, by the way, I have managed to record this. So once the recording is up, especially to you, Dhavalji, I would definitely be sharing the link as well. So yes, thank you once again and have a great rest of the evening wherever you all are signing in from. Bye.